Hi everybody, this video is going to be about the use of meditation in chronic pain management. There are many benefits to this. I know it's something that's said in pain management clinics, and it's kind of said quite offhandedly, without great explanation of ways to do it. And it can also be taken by patients as an accusation that the pain is in their head. But the point of meditation is staying in the best mindset that you can be in order to deal with your chronic pain. The way meditation works depends on how you view it. Some people think that it is a case of slowing down and really looking at yourself and processing your emotions and regaining kind of emotional stability. Some people think if you ponder on a thought or a problem, it's a way to kind of see things more clearly. It's a way to access your subconscious and possible spirit guides you have. You can consult them to help you address your problem, give you ideas. It's also a case of relaxation and centering and kind of realigning yourself. Realigning in the sense kind of chakra work, but whether you think that way or not, realigning yourself as in coming back to where you feel your soul is and where your emotions are. The only way I can explain that in a different way is when you have pain that is widespread with fibro or with neuropathies, it's very easy to feel kind of consumed by the pain. I think that's quite a useful word to use, being consumed or encompassed by pain, and therefore you lose track of where your processing centres are. Fair enough, your head's up here, but people also get kind of emotional responses like in the pit of their stomach. Their centre of gravity is in their pelvis, and sometimes people kind of feel their decisions come from a different place. Obviously your heart, sometimes your heart aches when you feel a certain emotion or you want to take your life in a certain direction. So realigning yourself and isolating the pain exactly where it is can sometimes release that feeling of being consumed, so you can then access those centres to, live your life with the advice that you get from those centres. Sometimes it's a way of kind of scanning our bodies, kind of reassessing our bodily functions and assessing our pain. If you're keeping a pain diary, excuse me, if you're keeping a pain diary, sometimes a full body scan meditation is a really good way of having a baseline to go from when you start. And if you scan your body in the same way every day, you're likely to get a realistic picture of how your pain progresses from day to day without the kind of emotional aspects that kind of alter your perception of pain. Now, some people feel that meditation using the elements is a way to feel more connected and to kind of disband loneliness and feelings of isolation, that kind of thing. Definitely people who talk about the ways you connect to earth as an element is a way to just go out into nature and feel the earth beneath your feet and feel part of something bigger. And some people just see it as a way to explore their self. Not only balancing your centres so you can process information and process feelings and problems, but actually getting to know what the different parts feel about you as a whole. But the actual physiological change, which is useful to us, is the fact that deep breathing does increase your oxygen saturation. It does increase the oxygen supply to your brain. You can think more clearly. When you get good at it, your heart rate will drop, your BP will go down in a sense of relaxation. by isolating your emotional centres in your body, it can also help with self-belief and self-esteem, and it can help with kind of anxiety and depression type things. I've spoken before about the vicious cycles of pain, and this is something that is really useful in breaking various cycles. As we've said, we've had the pain versus pain perception cycle, where the pain gets so intense that you actually can't work out where you are, if you're better or worse. You lose your concept of time and progression. So, as I've said, with this body scan meditation, that's quite a useful thing to overcome that. Where low mood gets kind of really mixed up with normal fatigue and your concept of pain. Again, if you relax to a point where you feel you can sleep properly, it's possible to separate the pain from being tired, from being in a lower mood than you normally would be. By connecting with the elements and feeling part of something, if you can then isolate the part of you that is feeling disconnected from everything that's going on around you, it's possible to kind of get rid of the emotional unrest and the feelings of loneliness by connecting with the world around you, by using the elements. And it's also good for kind of looking at the way you're looking at the world. So if you can assess whether you are viewing the world in a positive light or a negative light, it's then easier to assess whether you've got this chronic pain mentality of the inevitability of being in pain, or whether you might actually be suffering from depression that needs treatment separately. All of these things are useful tools to consider when using meditation. So what do we need to consider before we start meditating for the first time? Well, we want to be in an environment that promotes a state of calm and being on your own, and quietness and no interruptions from things that are already having those adverse effects on us, like increasing stress, increasing our blood pressure, making us breathe quicker due to stress and general life that goes on around us. So it's really good to make a calming environment, make sure you're not going to be disturbed, set a little bit of time for yourself, but also this whole process is really important that you don't force it. If you aren't in the right mentality to be able to focus, then do something else. Use your physio or your stretches as your mean of pain management for that moment, because there's no point in trying to get into this state and then also having this sense of failure preying on your mind, because it's not helpful. Some people find that to make a nice calming environment, you use incense and candles and maybe a focus point, a statue or something you're holding, which I usually refer to as tools. And some people like to make a sacred space or cast a circle to kind of block out external negativity, so they can pass the negativity out without it coming back, or without being interfered with. Now, my tools that I use at the moment are this fluorite palm stone. It's beautiful, it's very rough, and as you can see, it's got one flat face, and I'm an idiot, but actually it's got like this ridge here, so you can put your finger in there and your thumb lines up in the mark on the top, and then your hand just goes round it, and that's quite a good way to kind of do it's not a key because it hasn't come off from another chunk, but the whole idea of key crystals is this unlocking. So the fact that it fits into my hand in this particular way does lend itself to a meditation tool, because I'm almost connected with the crystal. Now, green heart chakra colour is really good for self-love, and that's really important when you have chronic pain. Sometimes we do begin to go down the self-loathing route, and when the depression takes over, that's something that comes next. So that's a particularly good tool. The other one is a root chakra stone. So this is a piece of red calcite. Again, it's a nice sizable piece, fits in your hand, you know, quite nicely, closing your hand around it. And this is good for your rooting and grounding, kind of bringing yourself back down to earth, centering yourself and being able to process information and process pain in a logical to scale way without things getting blown out of proportion due to a high emotional state, your blood pressure, your heart rate, and all those kind of things. So the way that you can actually use meditation directly for your pain can be to isolate where it's most intense and where you need to focus on. Also, sometimes if you have widespread body pain, you lose track of where it actually is. So sometimes isolating exactly where it is makes it easier to kind of cope with. The other thing I use meditation for is for energy channeling. So when I'm in extreme pain, especially when I'm at work, I mean, I always have crystals with me at work. So what I do is I try to envisage the pain leaving me through my arms, through my fingertips, going into the crystal. I will put the crystal on the ground, which I believe kind of dissipates and centers and earths the pain. So when I pick it up next, it's cleansed and clear and either ready to channel back in the positive energy that the vibrational energy gives me, or to then absorb more of my pain energy. So the best way to reach your meditative state, as I've said, is through the environment you're in. But if you can do it at a time where you are feeling particularly stressed, it will be the most valuable to you. But when you're learning, it's probably easiest to do it when you are at your natural dip of calmness during the day, because it will take a long time to master the technique when you're at your hour of need. So sometimes before bedtime, if this is a calming time for you when you're winding down for bed, it's probably a good time to start. You need to be comfortable. You need to find a position that works for you, either lying down, sitting down, propped up on pillows, on bean bags, whatever's right for you. It needs to be somewhere where you can completely relax, and if you do fall asleep, you're comfortable to fall asleep, if it's appropriate that you sleep at that time. But if you are in the middle of work, sitting up is probably the best way to do it, so you don't get into a state that's then harder to come out of. So you have a choice of what you can use as other tools in terms of music, in terms of using a guided meditation, in terms of trying to get silence, or in terms of using the elements for your focus and tools. I find that in the evening, when I'm at my lowest point, I can do meditation with just music or silence. During the day, when I'm in a kind of busier environment and in a different state of mind, I use a guided meditation. I'll talk more about where you can get hold of guided meditations a bit later on, but I have two that I use really regularly. I have two that are both by CharmingPixieFlora. So one of them is a 10-minute chakra balancing meditation for when I've not got a lot of time, and the other one is a half-an-hour body scan, full body meditation that I use in my lunch times, when there's an empty office somewhere and I can lie down and just spend some time kind of grounding and centering myself and getting, you know, a hand back on my pain before I have to go and do whatever I have to do in the afternoon, she says. She hasn't managed to spend a whole day at work for the last 3 weeks, but we'll get to that later. So the way that you balance yourself is completely up to you, depending on what kind of visualization works with you, depending on what kind of images you conjure up when you're in a meditative state. As I've described, it might be kind of the energy flow type meditation. It might be using the chakras as the balls of light that you want to intensify and align. It might just be focusing on your pain region and mentally isolating it so it can't come into your head. that's something that I find quite useful, especially when my pain's higher up my body. And sometimes it might just be a way of connecting with the earth, so you don't feel so alone. But all of these things, you might find they all work for you, but you have to be in a certain state of mind for them to work in certain occasions. Certainly, I don't like, when I'm feeling particularly low and particularly isolated, I don't like doing silent meditations, because if you can hear the silence, it completely reinforces that irrational idea that you are completely alone. Right, so you can use it for loads of different purposes. You can use it to get through the day, you can use it to start the day, you can use it to wind down the day and induce sleep, simple relaxation, or if you are practicing paganism or Wicca, it is an active way to balance your chakras if you're not using a pendulum or crystals or not being healed by someone else. You need to be cleansing and charging and aligning your chakras yourself. So the future of meditation for pain for you guys and for me is practicing, working out what works for you in different times of need, possibly constructing a pain toolkit to use when things get out of control, maybe a piece of music that relates to you, a tool that relates to you. The tools don't have to be crystals, it can be just anything that you relate to being in a calm place or being in a happy place. I have some small cushions that were made for me by a friend for my birthday, and that's the perfect kind of huggable size, and that's quite a useful thing to use when you want to feel safe. In terms of resources, I recommend you go and check out CharmingPixieFlora. She's got loads of guided meditations, not all pain related, granted, but general. If you just do a normal YouTube search for guided meditations for pain management, you will be quite successful there. I have used the deep relaxation meditation by Paul McKenna. I know lots of people don't like his voice, they find him quite difficult to listen to, but I don't mind, although his meditations are better to listen to in headphones because he uses single side messaging, so he will talk to you one way to your conscious mind and one way to your subconscious mind, so it's good to listen to that with headphones. And kind of the music that you would find in spas or when you go for a massage, that kind of thing. I'm not talking about the rainforest noises and the sounds of the sea. I'm talking about the kind of music that is more like synthesized sound that stimulates different parts of you depending on the mood you're in when you're listening to it. Again, there's loads of, if you type in meditation music into YouTube, you'll find something that works for you. If you're more interested in kind of real instruments, the kind of Native American type meditation tracks are quite good because it's kind of panpipes and light drums, stringed instruments, and mainly percussion and woodwind, but the sound is genuine sound, which is quite useful. Or people like Cosmic Floyd. If you look at the New Lap Records YouTube page, there are some synthesized sound tracks that are all done with kind of rock band instruments through synthesizers, which is a completely different way to view chill out music. Yeah, my brother composes that along with everything else that he does, and that's, you know, that's lovely. Final thing, Katie, I'm wearing my Dr. Who t-shirt for you, and hi to Sammy and to Flora and to Dee. Thank you for our meeting last week, I really did enjoy it. And Trimia, I'll be in touch soon, I promise. Okay, and I will see you all soon. Bye.